There. Y'all see the vision? Y'all know what I'm... Yo, you know what I'm trying to get at here? She does not understand it. Damn, what an indictment of, my ability to explain it. No, I'm just stupid. Well, okay, that's over. I'm 0 for 2 though. I don't know. Like, if you have questions, I can ask, or you're more than welcome to ask. I can try to my best to clarify it. Is it like a plane of existence? Like, you're referring to the Drevtam field? Is that what you're referring to? Is what a plane of existence? Like, it's a singular, it's like it takes place in a singular universe. But I suppose you could refer to the level 1s and stuff as like, oh, this might fuck. Oh, super being, like, yeah, the level 1s, right? So it's if you think about like dimensions, right? So humans, we only and I don't even mean dimensions like an alternate dimension. I mean dimensions like the first and second and third dimension and whatever, right? Humans only exist and can interpret the third and fourth dimension, right? We only interpret, like, we live in the third and we see slices of the fourth dimension, right? Which is time. So in a way, these beings exist beyond and in 2 greater dimensions. And when you try to start to rationalize that, right, you try to actually think about what that is, and you try to like internalize it, right? Like it falls apart, right? And that's not just even in my universe, right? Like anytime like someone tries to rationalize anything beyond in the upper dimensions, you can't, and that's just a limitation of humans. And so calling them beings is just like the best approximation for how we could ever hope to interpret them. And it just makes it easier as well to refer to them as like gods or beings or whatever, or level 1s, right? Like it's even like a little bit pointless to refer to them in like multiples, right? Like them or they, right? Like once again, it's beyond our interpretation, but you say that just so you can relate to it and you have a way to actually refer to them. So if you want to look at it as a plane of existence, you could. Plane implies a certain dimensionality, but what are you gonna do? Yeah. String theory or super string theory? So, yeah, okay, so super string is part of string theory. So, string theory is just basically a giant overarching theory that denotes that all of the things in our universe are dictated by strings, and the vibrations of these strings, and these strings exist in like upper dimensions, right? So they like literally in string theory, the maximum dimensions you can have is like 10 or 11, right? So I'm not going to sit here and explain that, mostly because I forget as well. But yeah, string theory is like there are these strings in upper dimensions that vibrate, and their vibrations in the various hertz or whatever you want to refer to it as, those vibrations propagate downwards through all the other dimensions, and depending on what kind of vibration determines what kind of things change, or what kind of huge quantum physics things are altered because of that vibration. And superstring theory is that there is an 11th dimension in which there is one big old string. There is a superstring that denotes, the vibrations from that dictate all the other strings and all those other vibrations and stuff like that. So that was more, I guess not the best explanation. Is a little bit of a tangent when I brought that up, right? But it's basically like if it goes into the idea of like there are upper dimensions, right? Like the whole idea of like dimensionality is just a theory, right? Like the math shows, and once again, I'm not a fucking theoretical physicist, but like the math has evidence to support the existence of upper dimensions, but because it's outside of our realm of human interpretation, um, I don't know if we'll, no one really knows if we'll ever be able to prove it or experience it beyond math. Uh, but assuming there are upper dimensions, you can kind of do some thought experiments to think about what's beyond there, right? Are there quote unquote beings, right? Like, is there higher life form that exists in these upper dimensions? Um, is it even suitable to call them life, right? Is the very concept of life limited to just third and fourth dimension? Or I guess the first four dimensions or whatever, right? Like it's hard to talk about this because it's so theoretic and it's so like we will never in our lifetime be able to like fully grasp and internally put in our brain how to interpret it, right? So yeah, it's like these beings exist beyond that, right? They exist beyond our current dimension. If it helps, right? It's kind of like a computer program, right? Like that's kind of the universe is basically one giant program. So if you want to think about it like that, right? Like someone exists on the computer, right? Like think about like a literal program on your computer right now, right? It's like it's running on your computer, right? That's kind of like the universe, right? And then there's the things on the computer that make that program run, and those are like the, I guess in our case they'd be like in the same metaphor, they're like the level twos, right? But they're like the things just outside of our understanding, right? Like we being in the program can never like escape the program and think beyond that. So like I hope that metaphor kind of tracks, right? Like it's like all the stuff making the program run is like fifth, sixth, seventh dimension or what have you, and then the level ones are like me, right? Like they're like you're the person operating the machine, right? And the little beings inside your simulation will never be able to properly interpret you as a being running that machine because their entire existence is confined to that program. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, right? And it's supposed to be very muddy and stuff. Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did zone out. Yeah, and so the people in the program, right, which is just like the main characters and stuff like that, just have to deal with it. And a lot of them don't know, right? Like, think about it like today, right? Like, everyone has their own explanations, whether it's religion, whether it's simulation theory, whether it's purely scientific, right? Everyone has their own interpretations as to what, the mechanics of the universe truly are. And so I guess, show my name, I don't care, I want to be mentioned. Okay, for sure. And so, in Drevtam, in the Drevtam universe's case, there is like an actual defined thing. Like there is a defined, definite truth to what the universe is, but only a select few know about it. Specifically, like the Kudo Dove know about it. Certain other races, which I haven't mentioned, or I need to write down the names and fill out the lore and stuff for those as well, but they would know about it as well. The people on the surface of the earth, like maybe by happenstance they got really close to understanding it, but because the level ones say no, right? The people running the program say no, they never will. It's not for my brain to comprehend. I've been cooking it for like years, so don't worry. And I'm sure, right? Like maybe someday someone will like have the guts to write it down in a more comprehensible way. It won't be me because most of my notes are only understandable by me, and yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, right? Yeah, and so like you can also think of um you can think of the what's it called? Like if we're using the computer program, right? Like the computer program metaphor, which also is kind of the reality, but whatever, right? Like um the level ones, right? So the people sitting at the computer made the Drevtam field, which is basically the software that enables the universe to run, right? It's like maybe you run it on Google Chrome, right? Like you run the universe on Google Chrome, and so the the actual like software, the actual simulation has to use elements of Google Chrome to run, right? Google Chrome in this metaphor is essentially the Drevtam field, right? Um, and just like how in like a video game or something like that, you can give elevated permissions to get more things out of Google Chrome. Like there's like admins, right? You can give them elevated permissions. So too did the level ones, which is, once again, the person sitting at the computer, give certain people in the universe, the simulated universe, more access to Drevtam or more access to Google Chrome in this instance. And that's like the field, right? It's like a bunch of people that like are like, oh fuck, there's like something controlling the strings here, right? So like let's dig into that and let's try to figure that out. So it's a bunch of people kind of in vain trying to unlock the secrets of Google Chrome, which is controlling them. And then of course there's glitches, right? So like Letha is a glitch basically, in that she should not have access to Drevtam, but she does, and because the level ones are being quote unquote entertained, right? Like our best interpretation of how one at that existence might be entertained, like could be entertained, because they want to run the simulation. They kind of let that fly. But once again, like Letha wasn't given this information, so she like a lot of the story is her just kind of like figuring this shit out. She's like, oh, there's some like I'm getting access to all this admin privilege for this Google Chrome, right? Like, but I don't understand. It's the language of the universe, right? So she's like I'm clearly able to do stuff with it, but I'm just like kind of fucking sifting through in the darkness, right? Trying to figure things out. And as a result has access to all this kind of different, all the powers, all the admin privileges of what you might have, right? And a lot of the stories, once again, I think I already said this, but a lot of the stories her trying to figure that out, trying and failing, right? it's like you were the first person to ever discover a language. No one has ever seen this fucking language before, and so you dedicate your life trying to figure it out. And this language is giving you like cool powers and shit like that. But once again, like you're the only fucking like who are you gonna turn to for help, right? Like you just had to figure it out. And so antics ensue, right? Yeah. Also, I want to do Wednesdays, webcomic Wednesdays. I told myself I want to dedicate at least one day a week to the webcomic. So tomorrow, gonna be working on it. So yeah, I like this building. I'm grilling on the Zaza for real.